Hey, Planeswalkers, welcome to our final episode here of 2022. On top of that, the December season for one of our favorite series here on the channel, Friday Night Meta, where we walk through all the different latest and greatest, giving you the best stats across all the various formats and best of one and best of three here today. So thank you for tuning in. As always, appreciate your support, appreciate the likes and the subs. With that, down below, you'll find the timestamps where we break down each of those formats like I discussed, and then we'll pull everything back together as we always do in a little bit of an outtake and retrospective. Now, if you happen to have a question or comment throughout the day or this episode, do let me know, or anytime, feel free to let me know down below or come swing by the Discord server. On top of that, other great ways to stay connected. All right, so here we go. We're breaking things down right off the bat again, with, as always, with standard best of one here all across in terms of bronze to mythic. We have Azorius Soldiers holding down the fort still, mono red burn being one of the most played decks. Azorius Soldiers pretty close to that. Grixis mid-range slowly moving up. On top of that, in terms of win rates, we have mono red burn doing very well, mono red aggro also doing very well. We've seen that mono white soldiers kind of falling out of favor. We do have mono white aggro popping back in. Again, mono blue tempo a little bit more played, and then that Grixis mid range coming back in. So when we scroll down here, we can see a lot of those things. Again, mono red being one more of the favorites here. Again, coming up through November, now pulling forward at the top as one of the favorite decks. Azorius Soldiers, again, continuing to climb, that we just talked about. Very close there, though, over the last kind of week here. And then additionally, all these other movements here with these decks. Now, down below, we see the win rates over time. There was compression, as there always is compression over time. The meta tends to get tighter as it gets resolved, particularly in best of one. Here, we do have Azorius Soldiers as being the number one rated or win rated deck, followed by mono white soldiers. But again, that's really fallen out of favor here, as you can see here in terms of win rate for today. So very, very crucial there in terms of those key statistics. Let's go ahead and look at Mythic in terms of the snapshot. Here's what we got going on at Mythic. Azorius Soldiers still breaking things down at the top of the pack, is the most played as well. Mono black aggro second, mono white aggro, mono red burn, Grixis midrange, mono red aggro, Azorius control, mono blue tempo. And then again, you can see the win rates there, and then how things have panned out here in Mythic. So that concludes our standard best of one. Looking forward to playing that more next year. All right, best of three. Here's what we got going on. Mardu Angels at the top right now, followed by Azorius Soldiers, Grixis midrange, mono blue tempo, Esper midrange, is it tempo, mono black aggro, and then Azorius control. Grixis midrange at a healthy 33% played, followed by Esper midrange, Azorius Soldiers, Mardu Angels, and the rest. Here you can see how much that Grixis midrange has been played, and then additionally how the win rates have worked out over time. Again, big ones really being here right now, Azorius Soldiers, and then that Mardu Angels deck that's held pretty steady across over time here. Let's go see if there's anything different in Mythic. Mythic, we got a little bit of a change, not too much. Grixis midrange is still heavily played. Everything else kind of fairly steady there in terms of what we discussed. Mono black aggro falling below 50% though. So that concludes standard. Let's go ahead and move on over to Alchemy. Alchemy here. We got mono red aggro, mono red burn, Rakdos sacrifice, mono red goblins, lots of red, lots of black, mono black control, Rakdos midrange, Gruul werewolves, and then Azorius Soldiers there. And then as you can see on the right, top played decks, mono red aggro, followed by Rakdos sacrifice, mono black control, mono red goblins, and the rest. Here we do see that mono red aggro falling off a little bit, but again, picking back up. And then that Rakdos sacrifice rising, and then the goblins deck kind of falling there. Then in terms of weird rates, mono red aggro coming back up again as these things kind of move around. This is what tends to happen. All right, we'll drill in the competitive space. Only you're playing mono red aggro. That's it. All right, let's go ahead to best of three. Best of three, here's what we got. Rakdos sacrifice, mono red goblins, Rakdos midrange, Rakdos sacrifice, and mono red goblins. As you can see on the right in terms of popularity, on the left in terms of win rates, then you can see kind of how these things have trended over time. Goblins falling off, starting at the best, then getting to the worst of these three decks. We'll leave it at that. Let's go over to historic. All right, Historic here, we got Is It Wizards, Is It Belcher, Rakdos Midrange, Mono Red Aggro, Selesnya Squirrel Twin, Mono Green Elves, Azor's Affinity, Azor's Control. On the right here, you can see heavily dominated between Is It Wizards and Mono Green Elves, and then Selesnya Squirrel Twin and Mono Red Aggro. Here you can see that Is It Wizards in terms of popularity. Again, same with Mono Green Elves. And then on the right, Is It Wizards has just continued to command a very, very nice, healthy win rate here for some time, as well as everything else kind of just bouncing around there down below. Let's see if we do have a little bit of a different in Mythic. Mythic, not too much. Is It Wizards still doing very well? Is It Belcher, Rakdos Midrange, Mono Green Elves, Selesnya Squirrel Twin, Azor's Control sub 50%, and then you can see the popularity on the right. All right, so that concludes Historic Best of 1. Let's go check out Best of 3. Here we got Rakdos Goblins, Rakdos Midrange, Is It Wizards, Azor's Affinity, Mono Green Devotion, and then Azor's Control. Here on the right, heavily dominated by Rakdos Midrange and Mono Green Devotion. You can see how this stuff has trended. Rakdos Midrange definitely dropping in terms of popularity over time. We see that Mono Green Devotion deck picking up, and then here on the right, you can see how Rakdos Goblins and some of the other decks have performed as well. In terms of those win rates. Let's go ahead and check out Mythic. Here in Mythic, you got Rakdos Midrange and Mono Green Devotion, and then you can see again how heavily those two decks are played. All right, so that concludes Historic. Next, we got Explorer. Explorer, Mono Blue Spirits pulling it down here at the top, followed by Boros Heroic. Then we got Mono Green Devotion, Abzan Greasefang, Mono Red Aggro, Selesnya Angels, Azor's Control, Mono Red Burn. And then when we look at popularity today, we got Mono Green Devotion, Selesnya Angels, Abzan Greasefang, Azor's Control, and the works. Lots of trending changes here with Mono Green Devotion in terms of popularity. We see Selesnya Angels kind of falling, everything else kind of falling. But that Mono Blue Spirits is still doing very, very well there in terms of those win rates. So very, very powerful there for Explorer. That is our Mythic. Let's go all the way across because I did that in reverse. Here at Mythic, or across the board, we got Selesnya Angels, Mono Red Aggro, Mono White Humans, Abzan Greasefang, Golgari Elves, Azor's Control, Mono Red Burn, Mono Green Devotion. So a little bit of a change here in terms of what we're seeing. Again, Mono Green Devotion still being heavily popular. Mono Blue Spirits still doing very well as we discussed. And so you see it now. All right. That is Explorer Best of 1. Let's go over to Best of 3 here. Again, in aggregate, here's what we got going on. Mono Blue Spirits, Cruel Vehicles, Selesnya Angels, Mono Green Devotion, Azor's Control, Rakdos Midrange, Mono White Humans, Mono Red Aggro, followed on the right here by the 3 top played decks, Mono Green Devotion, Rakdos Midrange, and Mono White Humans. And then as we see the stuff trend here, we see that Mono Green Devotion really falling off. We do see Selesnya Angels falling off in terms of win rates, still doing very well. That Gruul Vehicle is kind of doing a U-turn there, and then everything else. So let's go ahead and check out Mythic. In Mythic, we got some changes here. We got Rakdos Midrange, Selesnya Angels, Mono White Humans, Mono Green Devotion. Then on the right, very dominated by these 4 deck lists. All right. And then again, we see that similar trend there as we discussed. So that concludes Explorer Best of 3. All right, last and final snapshot here for us in 2022. We have our Historic Brawl. So we got Rusko Clockmaker. That's a new one here. We got Kinnan Bonder Prodigy, the first sliver. Gix in there as well. Goshen Tai, Golos, Joda, and Brawl. Not doing very well. Maybe someone played that one a ton. Rusko is doing great popularity at 10%. Everyone's playing this list. Look at this. Boom. We have not had that happen in Brawl. So there you go. That's something to talk about. Again, look at this nasty win rate. This deck's got 72%. Boom. Very, very powerful there. So with that, lots of stuff that we covered here across all the different formats for you today on our weekly series, Friday Night Meta. We've covered both formats, Best of 1 and Best of 3. Additionally, take a look at Historic Brawl. I know Brawl had been popular for midweek Magic, all that fun stuff. So with that, Planeswalkers, I wish you a happy holidays as always, and additionally a great New Year's. I know it's turning New Year's already for some of you around the world. Congratulations. We'll see you in 2023. All right. Take care, Planeswalkers. Appreciate your support as always. Thank you for the likes and the subs. Appreciate the comments down below. Feel free to swing by the Discord server and other great ways to keep in the know here on the channel. All right, until next time, Planeswalkers, Mythras out.